All right, Casino, little bonus clip we got here for the Only Sports Podcast. I'm Will, that's Casino over
Bonus.
there. We are talking about Thursday night's marquee game against the Lions and Packers last night. Lions win last second field goal 34-31 in Detroit. The Lions are now 12-1. The Packers are now 9-4. Thoughts on what you saw from this game from both teams, Casino?
What I thought was Dan Campbell being Dan Campbell. He was going for it. And you know what? I'm not mad because it worked. So there's a lot of people and like at my bar, they're like, oh, they went for the fourth down on the 30-yard line. Why would they do that on their 40 or
Yeah.
30 or whatever it was? And I was like, well, because they got 2 touchdowns doing the same thing. And they're like, "Oh, yeah, well, they Green Bay scored off that turnover." And I was like, "That's fair. But if he didn't do that earlier, he wouldn't have 2 touchdowns." So
Yeah.
I liked the aggressiveness from Dan Campbell. Um, I think that he would reel it in if it was like how it was last year where they barely, you shouldn't have ran it that many times. But I liked his aggressiveness. That's my overlook on this. Um, Packers are for real. That young defense is pretty good. They disrupted him. Yeah, I thought it was a fun game.
I think this kind of confirmed what we were talking about on Thursday's show, which is the Lions are one of the 3 best teams in the league. But they're what we talked about on Tuesday's show, or at least my case against why I think Detroit is slipping a little, is their defense has no pass rush whatsoever. They can't stop anybody, and that's due to injuries, not scheme or having a bad defense. They just lost, their all pro and Hutchinson earlier in the season. And yeah, I mean, Jordan Love, especially when you just go back and watch his big throws in this game, all of them are him just having almost infinite time in the pocket because the Detroit Lions are getting no pass rush. And then he's completing, 30-yard bombs downfield because he's getting 5 seconds to throw. So I think coming out of this game, the confirmation to me is I'm concerned about Detroit's defense. They look eerily similar to the Ravens, which is they're going to have to outscore everybody. Now, much like the Ravens, they can outscore everybody. And unlike the Ravens, they haven't played a bad game all season. So the Ravens, you get every 4th game from them. You're like, what are you doing? Now with the Packers, what we mentioned on the show yesterday was they're a good team that always hangs in there with the good teams, but they never beat them. Like
That's fair.
every good team, they just can't close it out at the end. We talked about it yesterday. They have what? Not one good win on their schedule, if that, and like that
That's
good
fair.
win was questionable. So I think for both these teams, it kind of confirmed what we thought. I mean, going into this game, but coming out of this game, Casino, is Detroit still the best team in the league in your opinion?
Yeah, I told you until they lose because the Packers are not a bad team.
No,
The
no,
Packers the
they're not.
Packers are a good team, and it's a divisional game. Like you knew the Packers were going in there and they were going to play hard because they want to make a playoff spot. They wanted a chance to because remember Detroit has a really tough schedule going down the line. They wanted a chance to take that number 1 spot, you know.
Yeah,
So with that, like I'm not worried yet. I mean, let's say, yes, they're still the best. Your question was, are they still the best team in the league? To me, yes, they're still the best team in the league because they didn't lose. They're 12-1, and they're still scoring. Yes, their defense is shaky, but unlike the Ravens, who have 5 losses, they are winning those games. They're still figuring it out, winning those games. I think a lot has to do with their aggressive way of play, and they've got a clutch kicker who's done it multiple times this season, where he's scored for them right at the end to win the game. That's great clock management. That's really good coaching. So that's why I still have them as my number 1 is because of all of those things. Great coaching, great clock management. They can perform clutch from their kickers to their quarterback to the running backs to the receivers. Whoever needs to step up has stepped up.
yeah. And Lions, 4 games left on their schedule. 2 of them against teams that, I mean, are right there in the mix of Super Bowl
Yeah,
contenders.
next week is the week that I wanna see them play. I
Yeah,
wanna
and
see who's better,
the
the
Buffalo
Bills
Bills. Yeah,
o the Bills or the Lions. I wanna see who's better, and with that, like, I if one of them gets blown out, then it's easy enough to say that they drop probably 2 or 3 spots in the power rankings, probably 2 only. And, Eagles move on in. Eagles, they have their trap game. You said it yourself, the Panthers, you're scared of them. But no, I'm
scared of the trap
excited for
game.
this team, and they look good doing it. And
Yeah,
this is another thing I wanted to point out. So for the Lions, their receiving core, right? So everybody has either 5 or 6 receptions, right? 80 yards, 54, 43, 43, 33, 30. The ball was spread around like it was nobody's business. Like,
yeah,
that's what makes this team dangerous, is every single person can do something. Like, every single person can step up. Both running backs, Montgomery and Gibbs, 51, 43 off of 14 and 15 carries. That's good. Anybody can come back and or can show up that night and take care of business. And that's why this team to me is still number one, is they're getting it done regardless how close the games are. They just know how to finish a game. And that's what makes it scary.
yeah. And my light just died, so my face got much darker. But yeah, when you look at the Lions, I think again, when Sirianni, when Campbell does it, when the fourth going forward on fourth down, when they work, you're a genius. Everybody calls you a mad genius. Everybody loves it. It's the second it doesn't work that all of a sudden everybody starts going like, is he too aggressive? Why is he doing this? If that fourth down call wouldn't have worked last night and the Packers go, you know,
Twice.
30, yeah, twice, and then the Packers go 30 yards and they're kicking the field
Yeah.
goal to win it, the
They were
narrative is much different
Yeah,
today.
they were, but here's the thing is they they're so good at those fourth down conversions. They can do that. They were
Yeah.
4 for 5 last night, 4 for 5 and 7 for 15. Like, that's insane. And you give credit where credit's due. Um the Packers, they only had 5 third downs that they had to try to convert. They were 1 for 5, not great, 0 for 0 on fourth, but that's because they were moving the ball, on first or second down.
Yeah.
Um, but so yeah, Detroit or the Packers defense definitely made it tough for the Lions to get it done, but the Lions are that good to get it done. I thought it was really funny. It was the same exact play for both of those fourth and goals, with that receiver coming straight through the slot right down the middle. And yeah, just the bullet into the like to me, that was really funny. It was the same exact play for both of those touchdowns.
Well, it's also when you look at the Packers, their one win in division is by 1 point against the Bears. They've lost to the Lions twice. They beat the Bears once. They lost to the Vikings. So now they play the Vikings one more time and the Bears one more time. So that's when we're going to see. I don't think you can take the Packers as legit contenders if their best win if they're 1-5 in division games, and that one win is by 1 point against the
Again,
Bears.
but that is the best division in football. So it is the best division of football. I mean, you have the Lions, who are a juggernaut. The Vikings are really good. I wouldn't want to play them. Outside of that, we've talked about it. Outside of that game against the Lions that they lost, and then the short week going in, the following week, the banged up. Besides that, the Vikings have been perfect. So yeah, it's hard to knock Green Bay because of the division they're in.
Hmm.
If they were in any other division, they would probably have the same record as Detroit.
No, that's true. But again, I just want one win against a good team. And
Yeah,
again,
because
oh,
because
that was the
because to
win we
me,
talked
because to
about.
me, 3 of their losses are losses that I have teams better than them. I have the Vikings better. I have the Lions better. So, you
The
know,
Eagles are better.
and the Eagles are better. Yeah. So
Yeah.
like their 4 losses are against the 3 or no, the Vikings are not part of the three-headed dragon, but against 3 teams that you and I have better than them.
Yeah.
So you can't fault them. All 4 of their losses are against teams that are like, oh, Lions best team in the AFC, Eagles best team in the NFC. Okay. Like,
Yeah.
or, no, those are both NFC. My bad.
No, I get what you're saying. The top 2 teams in the NFC,
Thank
and
you.
then the Vikings are also right there in
I I
contention
I
for
keep
3rd best in the NFC.
yeah, I
Yeah.
keep wanting to think I keep wanting to think Bills. I Bills
But
Bills are next week. That's why I'm so excited for it next week is because I'm already thinking about the Lions Bills game. It's gonna be fun.
final thoughts on this game. Yeah, Dan Campbell, when it works on 4th down, it works. We'll see if that ever comes back to bite him. I hope it doesn't because I like when the coaches go for it on 4th down. It's dumb.
Did you see his locker room talk afterwards?
Well, we've
I
always talked. He's the best.
He gave
He's
me
one of,
he
if
gave me
not the best
tingles. He
players
gave
coach
me
in the league.
tingles, and I didn't even get to hear it. I just watched, like, they just showed him on the TV, and I was at work, and I just saw, like, his passion and whatnot. Like, you could be like, "Oh, he's yelling at him because they lost," or, like, that's how intense he was. It was if they lost, I would have seen that video and been like, "Oh, they're getting chewed out." But no, that was him just being super excited they won.
Yeah.
So, the passion is there.
So Detroit, we still think one of the best, if not the best team in the NFL right now. Packers, I just need one win against Vikings, or I don't know. I just want to see what this team does in the playoffs when they play against a better team.